Welcome to the Binge Dietitian podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Sumner, registered dietitian, focusing on helping men and women end binge eating, end food guilt, and finally say yes to life. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not substitute for medical and personalized advice. Hi guys, Jonathan here, the Binge Dietitian. So I got one of these questions from a friend, and she mentioned that she doesn't really know what a calorie is, but for some reason, she was avoiding them and really worried and anxious about them just because other people said so. So I just thought to make this mini episode on what is a calorie? What is a calorie in the first place? And is it actually bad? So heading straight to the reason what a calorie is. So by definition, a calorie is a unit of energy. So if you've been struggling with like low energy levels, feeling fatigued, feeling tired easily, then I want you to think, are you eating enough calories throughout the day? Are you providing yourself enough energy throughout the day, shall I say? So wherever you're getting your source of calories from, or shall I say energy, whether it's from carbohydrates, fats, or protein, no matter where it comes from, it's still energy. And some people might think there's good foods and bad foods. But in reality, all foods contain nutrients. All foods contain some form of energy. And they all provide certain nutrients to us. So food is energy. And this reminds me and brings me back to when I was studying to be a dietitian in early Dietitian 101, really. My first year dietitian, they told us to, when we're talking about calories, that we should avoid using the word calories or calling food calories or this many calories or high in calories or low in calories, because this can promote a disordered eating pattern when in essence, even at a scientific level really, if I'm being a bit more frank, that calories is energy. So we were taught Dietitian 101 to call foods high in energy, low in energy, and even foods that might be low in energy might be high in nutrients. These foods that might be high in energy could be your typical foods that most people tend to restrict on, like cookies, donuts, brownies. But that doesn't mean if it's high in energy that it's bad, because most of the time these foods provide pleasure. It's important to know that food is not always about energy or just vitamins and minerals, but we need to think about the mental aspect they can provide to us. High energy foods or hyperpalatable foods, which is foods which basically are pretty delicious, like cookies and brownies, which I love, are foods that provide us lots of pleasure. What I'm trying to say is that food is never black and white. Calorie is not bad, because you can't say, it's like saying if you're an electrician that battery is bad or a light bulb is bad, because it's literally energy. So I just wanted to reassure you that if you're worried about calories or you're thinking about eating something or you have eaten something recently and you're just feeling anxious about the calorie content, remember, you've given your body some energy. It's a way of self-care, shall I say. You're providing yourself energy to function throughout the day. And some people might be thinking that, oh, I haven't really moved much. I've been like watching Netflix all day. When we're talking about energy, it's not just about like if you've done or performed any physical activity, like you went for a run or anything. You don't need to justify reasons why you need to eat some foods that are high in energy, because about 70%, going back to Dietitian 101, 70% roughly of our body's energy use is what we call our basal metabolic rate. So 70% of the energy our body uses is to fuel our body's function. So our brain uses tons of energy, which is why when we go on low-calorie diets, not provide enough energy, well, essentially the first thing that happens is we start to feel very tired. We start to feel low in energy. Our focus tends to go away. Our mind starts to wander. And let's also remember, all our organs, they all use energy, pretty energy intense, such as your lungs, they use up so much energy. You're inhaling, you're exhaling 24/7. Even in your sleep, your heart is pumping so many times a day. Your kidneys are removing toxins for your body. Your liver is removing toxins from your body, producing proteins. So many things. Your body uses so much energy just to keep yourself alive. And let's say it's cold outside. Your body will increase its energy expenditure, or its energy use. You might need a bit more energy to keep yourself warm, to produce some heat, because energy is also heat being produced. So when we're worried about calories, sometimes it's like having this image of saying, you're worried about providing yourself energy. Our body needs the energy. So I hope you enjoyed this little episode about what a calorie is. Essentially, calories is energy. So thanks for listening to this episode. And I just want to caveat that if you feel like you want to improve your relationship with food, then feel free to head to the link in the description of this podcast for some one-to-one coaching, or you can head over to the link in the description of this podcast also for my hunger regulation webinar series or my binge eating freedom course. And if you really enjoyed this episode and maybe just opened your eyes about what carbs are, which is energy, and you felt that was really helpful, then I'd really appreciate it if you rated this podcast well. So once again, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. If you found this podcast helpful, you would definitely benefit from my binge eating freedom course in my website, bingedietitian.com. Learn more about the triggers to why you're binge eating and how to stop binge eating for good. No more food guilt, no more jumping from diet to diet, and no more shame. Go to the link in this episode for my binge eating freedom course to be one step closer to being binge free, starting today.